Do you ever wish you had the hip mobility that you had when you were much younger? Well, the exercises in this video will help relieve any muscle tension. Hi everyone, and welcome to Exercise for Health. I'm Richard, and today I'm going to provide 5 floor-based exercises to help you with your hip mobility. If you're new to this channel, we offer tips, advice and exercises to help you manage your health condition with physical activity. So go ahead and tap the subscribe button below and the bell icon if you want to be notified of when we upload a new video. When the hips feel tight or achy, or they cause you pain, stiffness or discomfort, it's likely that the joint isn't being moved enough and the muscles around the hips have become weak, causing an increase in their tension. The reduced mobility can increase the risk of low back pain, as well as pain further down the chain into the knees and the ankles. So I'm going to run through 5 exercises that can be done in part or in full as a daily routine to help you free up your hips and reduce the pain. As these exercises will be taking the hip through its full range of motion, in flexion, extension, abduction and rotation. They're not advisable if you've had a hip replacement or if you've had hip surgery in the last 12 weeks. You will need to be able to kneel on the floor to be able to perform them, but I would recommend using a mat or cushion where necessary for comfort. And although they will be gentle in nature, they will include some muscle activation with the movement. So it's not just a passive stretching routine. Right, with that out of the way, let's go through them. Right, we'll begin with some hip rotations. For this one, you just need to be sat down on the floor with the feet out on an angle just in front of you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drop both knees over to the left. So that's going to be internally rotating the right one and externally rotating the left one. And then we're going to then pulling this knee up first as far as it will go before the other knee lifts up to switch across over to the opposite side. So now my right one's in external rotation and my left one's in internal rotation. So as we move from one side to the other side, lift this first one up before you then bring the other one across, and then drop it down, and then lift that one back up as far as you can. So we're trying to keep the knees apart as far as possible for as long as possible as you rotate before the second one then drops down towards the floor. You might not be able to get your knee completely down flat on the floor. It does depend on your mobility. But at the same time, you may find if you need to increase it, if you're not feeling it very much, then you can just bring yourself a little bit more upright with your torso, and that will just increase the mobility that much more. We're going to do 3 of these on each side. So I think this is the last turn. Last one going the other way. Try and keep the knees apart as much as possible as you rotate across. Okay, so this time we're going to reverse back to the first side that we did, but this time we're actually going to twist up and across. So we're going to come into this 90-90 position. And what I want you to do now is take the chest down towards this front knee, but at the same time I want you to try and force that knee down into the ground. So as I lean the body forwards, I'm going to feel a stretch around that side of the hip, but I'm also trying to push and activate the muscle on that side by pushing this knee down into the ground. Hold it there for a few seconds and then come back across. Let's switch over. So to the opposite side. So now again, I'm leaning my torso forwards, but at the same time pressing this right knee down into the ground for a couple of seconds, and then reverse back. Again, we're going to do 3 of these on each side. And then back to the second side. So as you lean forwards, try and keep your torso upright. So you're trying to think about pushing your belly button towards this front knee, and at the same time push that knee hard into the ground. Right, good. One more each side. So belly button forwards, body upright, lean in and then press. Good, reverse back. Last side. So we're working on this external rotation one this time for this second set of 3. Right, now we're going to go back to the final set of 3. So this time as we switch across, rather than leaning the body forwards, I want you to try and think about keeping the body upright this time. We're going to work on the internally rotated hip. So this time I want you to think about pushing this knee down into the ground as you keep your torso upright, and also see if you can get a little bit of a lift of the foot up off the floor as you're pushing that knee down. Hold that for a couple of seconds and then we'll switch, go to the opposite side. Again, body staying a bit more upright this time. Push that back knee down. See if you can lift the foot up. Then switch. Good. Switch across. Keep pushing that back knee into the floor as you're lifting that foot up. You're going to feel quite a lot of tension, maybe a bit of discomfort around the hip as you do that. So let's do one more each side. Body upright, knee down, lift the foot. So you should feel those muscles activate around the side of the hip. Last one. Good. And then bring it back to the middle. Right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, the next one's going to be the frog stretch. So for this one, we're going to be kneeling on the floor. Just have your hands out in front of you to start off with. You want to try and take the knees out as wide as you can on the surface on your floor. Now you can do this technically with the feet further out as well. So the feet are directly behind the knees. If you find that hurts the knees too much, so what you can do as adaptation is you can actually just bring the toes of the feet together. It'll still give you the same sort of movement, but it won't be quite as much pressure through the actual hip joint itself. So if you can, you want to have the feet directly behind the knees. So the movement from there then is I'm just going to gently rock backwards as far as I can, just until you can feel some stretch going on into the hip, and then bring the hips forwards. We're going to do this 10 times slowly. If you prefer, you can actually go down, take the elbows down to the ground, but it's only a small movement, just gently rocking backwards and forwards. As you rock back, trying to take the bum back towards the heels, think about also trying to push the belly button down towards the floor. So what that'll do is that will initiate a little bit of a pelvic tilt forwards, like trying to push your tailbone of your spine up in the air, and that will just help increase the mobility into the hips. So just go back as far as you can. When you feel that slight stretch, just pause for a second and then come back out and go back again. So we're going to do 10 of these. That's 5. Again, just work through your range of movement. You're not trying to force it too much. Just trying to help open the hips up a little bit. Just get rid of some of that tension in the hips. Okay, 3 more. Good. If that's getting too much on your knees, just bring the feet closer together. You might find that will increase the movement you can get in the hips as you go back. Let's do a couple more. Really think about trying to arch that lower back, pushing the tailbone of the spine up in the air as your bottom's going backwards. Good. Okay, just gently come back out of it. Brilliant. Then we'll go on to the next one. Right, now we're going to go on to the side shift. So this is where we're going to be activating the muscles on one side of the hip. So this time you're going to have one knee on the floor, but with the other foot, you're going to take it out to the side. So your hips are pretty much facing forwards, or your pelvis is facing forwards, but this knee's out to the side. And as we're going to shift our body weight in that direction and come back again, it's going to open up this side of the hip, but at the same time, want to try and make sure we're activating the muscle around the outside of this hip where the foot's on the floor. So you shouldn't see, as you shift out, you shouldn't see your knee collapse inwards. We're trying to recruit those muscles around the back to try and keep the knee back as you're shifting your weight forwards and back. So set yourself up ready, put your hands wherever you want, and then from there we're just going to lean in, starting to put some weight through this front foot, but keep that knee out and then push back. That's 1. We're going to do 10 of these on each side. 2. So you should feel that open up on this side. 3, but at the same time you're activating the muscle around the outside of the bottom on the opposite side. 4. 5. If you've got good mobility, you might find you be able to go deeper into it, which is fine. So just work to your level. 4 more. 3 more. Keep that knee out as you go in. 2 more. Should be feeling that run this hip as well as stretching this hip. Last 1. Good. Right, let's switch over. So bring that knee down to the ground. Other foot out to the side. Again, remember this knee, we want to try and use those bottom muscles to try and keep that knee outwards as we move in and out. So set yourself up ready. Off we go. 1. Again, we're doing 10. Keep that knee out. 2. Squeeze. 3. 4. 5. 6. Stop that knee coming in. 7, should be feeling that open up. 8, last 2. 9, one more. And 10, good. Brilliant, right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, let's go on to the long lunge. So for this one, we're going to be working through flexion and extension of the hip. So what I want you to do is I want you to take one foot out in front of you, so the toes are pointing straight forwards with the back knee still on the floor. So 2 parts to this movement. The first one is we're going to try and push the hips forwards. We're going to work on flexing this front hip. So I'm going to take my hands down on the inside of this foot to try and then, as I'm bending that knee, try and really open up this hip. And then the second part of this is I'm then going to let my body come upright. I'm going to think about tilting the pelvis backwards. So it's trying to squeeze the glutes so you can feel more of a stretch on the hip flexors on the front. So we're going to do 5 times each way, and then we'll switch over and do 5 times each way on the opposite leg. So set yourself up ready. Off we go. So we're going to lean the body forwards, hands to the ground, allow that front knee to bend, open up that hip, then come upright, tuck the tailbone of the spine underneath you. Try and lean the body backwards just fractionally so you can feel the front of the hip stretch here. And then back to the first one. So working on flexion of one side and then extension of the other one. So that's 2. Come back up. Really try and focus on tilting that pelvis backwards because that's going to help to stretch those hip flexors. 2 more each way. Last one. Good, right, let's switch over so we can do the same on the opposite side. So same thing, start in that long lunge position. And then first one, we're flexing off this front one. So I'm gonna take my hands down on the inside of the front foot, try and think about bending that front knee as I'm doing that, trying to take the torso down. And then lean the body upright. Tuck the tailbone of the spine underneath you so you can activate the glutes, get the stretch on the front of the hip here in extension. So go back to flexion of the front hip and then upright extension of the back hip. Good. Just breathe nice and relaxed as you're doing these slow, gentle movements. So you can really start to feel for what's being stretched, what's being mobilized. So you can really focus on it. Good. 1 more each way. Excellent. Right, let's go on to your last one. So for this last one, we're really going to start to work into the muscles around the outside of the hip. And this one's quite relaxing because we're going to be led down, so it's a bit nicer. So I want you to lie down on your back. And then to start off with, you're going to bring 1 foot up and across on the outside of the opposite leg. So I've kind of got the outside of my shin on the outside of the thigh for the leg that's on the floor. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to shift my foot of the support leg that's on the floor. I'm just going to move that outwards away from the midline slightly, which is going to start to rotate this hip a little bit. So I'm just going to move that support leg out away from my midline. And then the movement then is to drop, think about dropping this top foot down towards the floor. So as you're pushing your knee of the support leg outwards, you're going to get to a point where you're going to feel a stretch here and then just come back up. And then same again. So we're just going to push it across, feel that stretch all the way around here and then bring it back up to the middle. So nice and gentle with the movement. Again, just work through your range of motion. Some people find they'll be able to go a lot lower than what I can. Might be able to get the foot all the way down to the floor. Try not to lift the lower back up too much on this side. It will have a tendency to start to lift up a little bit, but try and keep that pressed down and that will just help then stretch the muscles around the hip a bit more. We're going to do 10 of these on each side. So this is 5. Again, nice and gentle with your breathing as you go through the motion. If you need to just readjust yourself, if your support foot starts to slip a little bit, you can just readjust. But use the knee of the support leg to really drive the foot outwards as you're taking it down towards the floor. Good, let's do 2 more. out. Bring it back up. Last one. And then we'll swap sides. Good. Okay. So switch the feet over. Should have loosened up that side of the hip a bit. Let's do the opposite one. So working on the same principle. To start off with, that support foot you can just take away from the midline slightly, just to start to externally rotate the hip of this leg that's up. And then from there, think about dropping that foot down towards the floor as I rotate. I'm using this knee of the support leg to push the foot outwards towards the ground and then come back up to the middle. So again, nice, gentle, slow movement. Try not to let the lower back come up off the floor too much. Good. Again, if your feet start to slip, just readjust and then go again. Okay, we're going to do 5 more. Focus on that breathing, still slow and relaxed. So I thought we'd finish off with a line one because it's quite nice. Good. Let's just do a couple more. Using your knee of the support leg to push the foot outwards, so you're pressing it down towards the floor as well as just rolling over. Last one, and then bring it back to the middle. Good. Right, and now you're done. Good work. I hope the exercises in this video have helped you free up your hips. If so, then please give it a like by clicking the thumbs up button below to help this channel grow so more people can benefit from it. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to stay active and keep moving to feel better. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video today, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click here to subscribe to this channel or click here to watch a recent video. See you soon.